Hey everyone, let's talk today about transitioning in forward bends. So I did a series of videos on shoulders and got such good feedback because alignment and sort of understanding what you're doing sometimes, despite the best efforts of your teachers, doesn't always translate. And what I mean is, when I'm teaching class, I will often reiterate in a number of ways some sort of specific action that I'm wanting students to integrate, and yet they just somehow aren't able to make the connection in hearing it versus doing it. So in these videos, I'm showing you, right? And I see so many students over so many years of teaching with consistent challenges when it comes to certain alignment actions. So the seeing of it, I think, is the optimal way to translate it into your body. So in addition to the typical shoulder misalignments, there's other things that I see all the time. Another big one is coming up from a forward bend, particularly in sun salutations. So despite many cues on keeping the spine lengthened and leading with the chest and not rounding up, I still see people sort of coming up rounded from sun salutations. So first of all, what I want to say is it's not necessarily inherently bad or wrong to round up. And I do see teachers sometimes teach it that way. Bend the knees and on purpose, uncurl, round your way up to standing. So there's nothing wrong with that. But the reason why I don't teach it, and I literally never teach it, and the reason why I cue coming up leading with the chest or a flat back is because we already spend so much time in our culture like this. We really don't need, in my opinion, to be taught to do this more. Quite the opposite. We need to be more elongated and opened in the front and connected to the spine. So that is why I don't teach it, the rounding up, and that is why I emphasize coming up this way. So let me show you what I'm talking about. A lot of times, despite all of my instructions, when we're in this fold, I'll see students go like this. Rounding, 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 and then they get here and then they suddenly open up. Or with bent knees, rounding, 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 and then all of a sudden at the very end there's this opening and lifting. And again, because we already have so much of that going on in daily life, I think we need to come up more open and more aligned from the tail to the crown. So instead, with bent legs or with straight legs, what I would like to see is the navel engaged, the chest lifting, and rising up like this in an integrated, tall way. Yes? I'll show you one more time. So you're in your sun salutations, any kind. Could be A's, B's, lunges, half salutations. When coming up, instead of this rounding, which if the legs are straight can potentially be very loading for the lower back. It can be dangerous. It's okay with bent knees, but with straight legs, not good. Instead of the rounding, we engage the belly, we lead with the chest, and we come up with awareness and spinal length. So this is my suggestion to you, that in all of your sun salutations and anytime you're coming up to standing from that forward bending position, whether your legs are straight or bent, that you find that plumb line of the spine, engage the belly for support, lead with the chest, and come up tall and open and integrated. Again, there's nothing inherently wrong with the rounding as long as the knees are bent, but do we really need it? Do we really need it? Or, let me ask you this, do you know the difference? Do you know when you're rounding versus when you're coming up straight? So optimally, it's a conscious movement and you're aware. It's not an unconscious habit pattern. Thanks, yogis. Happy sun salutations.